Activation word, Ronald McDonald. Public highway, congressman, pipe bomb, airport. We are past phrase go. All true patriots, now attack. Now is the time.
You may even get tired of winning, and you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
The hottest fucking thing a guy can do is make a little noise. Okay, let out a little...
Hold on, clear it up.
The Warthog. I love him.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the ASTROLABE. That pre-show was a lot of fun. I hope you guys can hear me. Can you hear me right now? Please tell me whether or not you're actually getting me so I don't just start talking and then get a wall of muted. I want to make sure that it's all good. You can hear me. Okay, excellent. Things didn't work when I turned stuff on again here today. This is a recurring thing in my life. Things don't work when I turn them on. Oh man, yeah. Everything was all janky again, and I ended up one monitor wasn't connected. It wasn't recognizing it, and then when it did recognize it, it was all fucked up. And then the iPad, it thought the iPad was somewhere. It was all sorts of funky stuff going on. So I'm glad that the audio is still working. This pre-show was a banger. You guys, if you don't show up for the live pre-shows, you're missing out. It is one of my favorite times. Yeah, I enjoy doing the show, but Like, I would just do the pre-show. If I could just make the pre-show, just keep going. Just do the pre-show. Listen to some awesome bangers and just chat and just make jokes and meme away and it's a grand time. So if you're missing out, don't any longer. Amy says, treat Matt well tonight, y'all. He saved my bacon this morning. Yeah, we're dog sitting right now for a couple of we have a couple dogs from some neighbors. It's one set of neighbors, but they have 2 dogs, and one of them is 19. Amy got up this morning and let them out into the backyard to go to the bathroom, and there are gaps underneath our fence, and because it's Texas and all of the soil, everything just is constantly eroding away with all the rain. So she lets him out, and the 19-year-old goes underneath the fence. And there's larger lots back behind us that are, I think they're probably 1 acre or so lots behind us, and but they're mostly kind of big open fields. And this is a 19-year-old dog that is the pride and joy of this family. So Amy calls me in a panic. I'd gone to sleep at probably about 4:30 maybe, and this was about 7:30. And she calls me in a panic, and she says, the dogs got out. The dogs got out. Come help me. And so okay. And I was like right in the middle of a dream, and I don't remember what I was dreaming about, but it was hard to kind of decipher for a few minutes whether I was still dreaming or if it was a little surreal. And ran down real quick, and the younger dog of the 2 came zooming back into the yard, and he saw me and was all excited about me, so he comes zooming up, and I just grabbed him. And then the 19-year-old was just wandering around over in the neighbor's backyard. The next house up in the subdivision, there's the lots behind us are not part of the subdivision, but the neighbor's house. Any sufficiently motivated autist, I'm probably giving away enough detail that they could track me down with the internet. But the other dog, the old one, was just in the next door neighbor's yard, just kind of wandering around. And so Amy like knocks on the door. She's like, "Can I?" I don't know if she wasn't home or she was asleep or something like that. So Amy just like hustles into her backyard and grabs a dog, and and I'm standing there on the back porch holding this other dog that's just happy. He's just hanging out. That was quite a rush of adrenaline this morning. This is life in a nice suburban neighborhood with a wife and neighbors around you. It's the good life. What was I saying before that? Oh, just the pre-show. Yeah, make sure you guys, if you can, show up for the pre-show. Speaking of, Amy and I were talking today, and I am considering, by saying this out loud, it means it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. I am considering moving this to an early morning show. How many of you guys are early birds? Those of you who show up for the live show. How many of you are early birds? I'm saying maybe like 7 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Central, and going for a few hours in the morning. How many of you guys? Yes, please. Me. Seems like Kingless Kingdom says absolutely not. Niall Spencer says no. I know these people, and like the young guys. The young guys are all like, no. And the older married guys are all like, yeah, sure, let's go. Oh, that's great. I've never seen the chats come through so fast. I can't even keep up anymore. All right. Well, just so you know, that may be a thing that happens here in the near future, so that I can try to maximize my productivity time. What is that in Australian? I have no idea. What you're like 13 hours, 14 hours ahead, I think. So it would probably be like evening in Australia, I think. Somewhere in there. It seems like predominantly a lot of the chat says yes, it would work. But then there's a decent number who are like, no, I wouldn't be able to make it then. But I can't please everyone. Someone's gonna wind up in the replay gang. But just so you guys know, that's something that is probably going to happen here in the near future, because I think I can manage a workflow around that better than what I've been trying to do lately. Shout out to me for gifting a sub to Presses Buttons too, and Pale Morning Dude, thank you for the kicks. Hail Victory, resubscribed, thank you, sir. And the gayest man in the world, getting us started off right. Gabe Johnson!
They don't understand the things I say on Twitter.
Can't wait for all the panickings to apologize. Oh wait, that never happens. Fucking losers. Always truest.
Always truest indeed, Dave Johnson. Thank you, sir. Oh, hold on.
You know, Dave Johnson is the gayest person to ever walk this green earth.
Here is the biggest, gayest man in the world.
So gay.
Thank you, Gabe Johnson. I appreciate you, sir. Seems that'd probably work well for you, I would imagine, because you're an East Coast guy who goes to bed early. Okay, so from the pre-show, there's two things I wanted to talk about. I was inspired by. First one, Straight Buster just out of nowhere says, "I can't believe Matt Gaetz, spelled Gaytz. I can't believe Matt Gaetz raped all those aliens." And I don't know why, but I cackled at this. And it made me think of, like, that'd be a really funny bit to do just on a regular basis. Be the guy who's, like, moderately in the know. So it's like he's got to be plugged in on X or something with the sort of events he's able to keep up with on a regular basis. Or he's a religious podcast listener that's, like, talking about esoteric current events or whatever. And so he's, like, moderately in the know, but he consistently gets the details wrong. That concept is freaking hysterical to me. You're like just like concern trolling. Like, you make sure you're like a really, really cool guy. Like, everyone wants to hang out with you. You know, maybe you couldn't have your personality be quite like Howling Mutant, because it would be you just end up being Howling Mutant. You'd have to be your own thing. So like everyone wants you around. Everyone thinks you're cool. Everyone likes you, but you also just constantly get stuff wrong in a way that people like. That's not what happened. It didn't go like that. Someone's wrong on the internet. You're triggering that response in people, but you're also just really cool and chill and fun to get along with. And so people are constantly torn. Isn't it fun that you can just be a character if you want on the internet? You could just totally be your own entire person. And then if you establish yourself that way enough, you could even port that into real life. Isn't that interesting? Also, my wife said we've been reading a ton of scripture about the crucifixion and resurrection the last 6 weeks as we're taking a break from regular school and doing Lent school. Eastwood told me tonight, this is her speaking, Eastwood told me tonight he thinks it's bad that there are still Jews. She was telling me about this the other day, and she followed up with, let's see here. Tyler said, it is bad, they should be Christians instead. And she wrote, this is basically his stance. He's neutral on Pontius Pilate, but the Jews get no grace, apparently. First of all, extraordinarily based, I have to say. My son, I am deeply impressed with you. And this is a tremendous credit to my wife. This is what happens. When you just raise your kids Christian, they just see the world through a Christian lens. It's just by default. That's just how they are. That becomes their default settings. Now, someone might make this into a homeschooled versus public school debate. And I think that, I appreciate the spirit behind it. I think that is wrong-headed because really, the question should be, when are our public schools going to be doing this? That's the goal. The goal is that the public schools are the ones that are teaching this way. We're not just gonna settle for you're free to teach your child however you want to at home. No. If the state in a Christian nation, if the state is paying for and providing the education, then the state is going to provide a Christian education. This is entirely reasonable. My wife says he's unprincipled AF. He still thinks we should be giving money to illegal aliens. I think this may be a single issue voter thing regarding the Jews. Well, you know what they say about kids being libs, right? Also, I have a couple of new soundboard additions here. I think this one's actually going to be too quiet. First of all, let me know if you can hear the soundboard without me sharing the screen.
Shut up, Goyam.
Did that play? Did you guys actually hear that? I think you did hear it. Okay, good. So the soundboard is working like normal. How was the sound on it? I think the audio was probably too low, and I'm probably gonna have to fix it. But shout out to Melon for grabbing that for me yesterday. In real time, he messaged it over to me while the stream is going. That's Gerby, of course. It's a little low. Yeah, I'll probably pull the volume up on it. Then the other one, I forgot to play this one after Gabe's contribution. Where is it? Here we go.
A shekel for a good guy.
I don't even know where I got that one, but I was looking at my files on my computer yesterday, and I was like, oh, how did that not wind up in there? And then one other one.
Uh-oh. Boner alert.
Okay, now it looks as if one other thing I need to try to fix here real quick is hold on, I got to sign in to Kick, and I'm gonna have to switch that thing as well. Signing into Kick here and seeing if this will refresh the the chat. This has been happening for the last couple of days. For whatever reason, this isn't good. For whatever reason, the little thing that I have set up, it wants me to fucking log in. I've got this little program set up to tie in the chat from all the different platforms, and it is, gotta grab a password. I need to install an update for it, and it's gonna mess a bunch of stuff up when I do it, which falls in line with some of the other things that I need to change. So I'm trying to get those all done at the same time, and I'm hoping that tomorrow is the day that I can do that. So there we go, reinitiating the connection. Now that I'm signed into Kick, hopefully that will refresh the chat. There we go. Okay. Also, everyone in the chat was talking about the Trump's Ballroom that I put in the title today. And we'll talk about that for a minute. We got a whole bunch of other things as well, but that was just an easy thing to put in the title, and I wanted to do the clickbait because I read it, and I read it in like Tim Pool title speak. They're building what under Trump's Ballroom? Or like Benny Johnson does these titles as well. And so everyone started theorizing about what the purpose of the ballroom is going to be. And I should have titled it, after reading everyone's contributions, I realized I should have titled it Trump's Panic and Rape Dungeon. or as Slutty Milk said, the Donjon. Yeah, so we'll talk about the ballroom, what's being built under the ballroom. It's kind of interesting. And because a judge apparently just blocked them from constructing this. We'll talk a little bit about that. We got a bunch of stuff about Iran. And then we're going to talk about NATO and who seems to be the real target of all of this. What that means. There's an article here from FP, from Foreign Policy Magazine, written by a guy from Harvard, a professor of international relations at Harvard, titled "The United States Has Become a Rogue State, and Here's What the Rest of the World Can Do About It." So we're going to read through that. Got some very interesting news out of the UK about prosecuting hate crimes on the internet. And then there's a handful of other things here as well. I don't know if we'll necessarily get to all of it. Hopefully we'll get to the Bukele stuff at the very end. Yeah, so let's get started. First of all, we got a wife jack submission. Also, please do. This is the last day of the month. I support my family by coming here and providing you info, entertainment, what have you. So please go to tips.kingpill.com. Rent is due tomorrow. A bunch of other bills are all coming out right around the end of the month, beginning of the next month. And I understand it's probably the same for everyone, but if you have anything you could spare, please do. Tip your streamer. Tips.kingpill.com. And make sure you go over to forum.kingpill.com. Isaac, damn it. I just remembered. I forgot to send the gift card to you. So I'll do it as soon as the stream is over. Isaac was the winner last night of the drawing that we did. He gets 10% of last night's take. So I'll be sending that over to him after the stream here. We might have another winner. If we can get to $400 tonight, we're already at 88, thanks to Dave. If we can get to $400 tonight, then we will pay out one last winner this month. And then I'll be wiping the slate clean. We'll start over again next month. Night, Dave. So, very first thing we have today is a man. Now I gotta remember where I have everything. So I changed the screen over here. Okay. First thing we have today is a wife jack submission. And do you like laughing? Because it's time to appreciate some laughing. I dare you to see how far you can get through this without at least like a little grunt.
Your glasses, don't drop them.
That's the one that got me. What the fuck?
Sira, banana.
It's like a fucking alarm. How does that happen?
Their glasses, don't drop them.
Oh man, the turkey call, yeah. Oh man, how does that even happen? Every once in a while, you'll get a good snort out of me. Every so often. So speaking of laughter, and also in honor of the beloved Mrs. Kingpilled. Well, actually, I don't know if she wants this one to be in honor of her. Well, she's going to be torn over this because Mike Rowe here has an episode, quick little bit here, that was sent to me by Closed Minded Podcast on X. He said the little bit we talked about yesterday regarding Harvey Kellogg and the reason why he invented cornflakes. And he said it reminded him of this episode on self-abuse from The Way I Heard It with Mike Rowe. This is January 17, 2017. So she may have actually already listened to this one.
Go to 1-800-Flowers to celebrate life's most important moments. Order now for up to 40% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Act now and save up to 40% at 1-800-Flowers.com/podcast. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/podcast.
This is The Way I Heard It.
Best podcasting voice ever.
Reverend Sylvester was the youngest of 17 children, so it should come as no surprise to learn that he was opposed to all methods of birth control. Moreover, the good Reverend decried with great passion any activity that might thwart mankind's sacred duty to go forth and multiply, including the unseemly business of self-abuse. When it came to preaching the perils of manual gratification, you might say Reverend Sylvester pounded the pulpit. Every Sunday, he warned his congregation in vivid detail of the eternal consequences that awaited those who dared spill their seed upon infertile ground. Indeed, he even wrote a book on the subject entitled On Self-Abuse, a seminal work, if there ever was one, and a bona fide bestseller during the great masturbation scare that swept the country in the early part of the 19th century. Yes, the great masturbation scare was in fact a real thing, but it would be premature to suggest that Reverend Sylvester addressed the matter single-handedly. The fact is, many preachers in the early 1800s believed that shaking hands with the false prophet would put you in the fast lane on the road to perdition. But more importantly, many doctors were firmly convinced that badgering the witness, and beating around the bush were leading causes of depression, epilepsy, tuberculosis, insanity, sterility, and, of course, blindness. Thus, the medical profession's preoccupation with burping the worm gave great credence to Reverend Sylvester's belief that kindling Satan's wood posed a clear and present danger to the spiritual health of our great nation. But, unlike his fellow clergymen, the Reverend took his aversion to rubbing the Buddha's tummy a step further. You see, Sylvester believed that all desire was connected, and that anything enjoyable, including the food we eat, would ultimately lead young men to engage in more and more one-handed spear cleaning. So the Reverend launched a Sunday morning offensive against all manner of dangerous foods, beginning with pork. Yes, I know. It's tempting to characterize his assault on bacon as another form of slamming the ham, or holding the sausage hostage, or flogging the bologna pony, but that would miss the point of his overall contempt for anything that tasted good, including dessert. Along with his disdain for flesh, Reverend Sylvester also preached that processed sugar and flour were 19th century gateway drugs, and warned the women of his congregation that either ingredient would awaken in their sons and husbands a burning desire to explore every nook and cranny in the garden of earthly delights. In other words, give your kid a cookie, and the next thing you know, he's drunk on moonshine, beating the bishop, and covered in heathen stew. Now, to be fair, the Reverend practiced what he preached. Using only water and whole grain flour, he created a new food utterly absent of temptation, a completely tasteless cracker, totally void of flavor and almost impossible to chew. Why? To provide a simple form of nourishment that wouldn't trigger in America's youth the insatiable desire to pull the goalie. Anxious mothers, desperate to save their handsy spawn from eternal damnation and their sheets from the eternal stain of liquefied souls, bought these bland and unsavory crackers by the case. Did they work? Did anyone actually eat them? Who knows? Polls on such matters are not exactly reliable, though studies do indicate that teenage boys in 19th century America were not all that anxious to discuss the frequency with which they audition the hand puppet. All we know for sure is that the anodyne crackers bearing the Reverend's name sold better than they had a right to, and went on to become a national symbol of self-control and clean living, right up until 1931, at which point the National Biscuit Company assumed production and took the Reverend's legacy into their own large and experienced corporate hands. Shockingly, the National Biscuit Company was more interested in making money than curing blindness and saving souls, and they believed that maybe the best way to accomplish that was to produce a cracker that didn't taste like sawdust. So, they decided to add the gateway drugs, sugar and processed flour. The result? A major breakthrough in the dessert category and a major setback to the legacy of the preacher who believed any boy who shook it more than twice was playing with it. On a personal note, I have skimmed through on self-abuse, and speaking only for myself, I'm afraid I found the Reverend's warnings regarding the one-gun salute to be unpersuasive. His new and improved crackers, however, occupy a place of prominence in my personal pantry. Like you, I've enjoyed them crumbled over ice cream and ground into pie crust. But mostly, I prefer them around a campfire, smothered with melted chocolate and molten marshmallows.
He knows what he's doing!
It was the Boy Scouts, who figured that one out nearly 100 years ago. And ever since, people have said, "Can I have some more?" Reverend Sylvester didn't live to see the advent of s'mores. But it's fun to imagine his reaction if he were still around. Because the preacher, who believed the consumption of sugar and flour would lead a young man to cork his own bet, is today remembered not for his advice on restraint, but rather for a decadent, mouth-watering confection of unparalleled indulgence enjoyed by horny degenerates and gluttonous reprobates all over the world and held together by the sinful crackers that still bear his name. Thanks to the Reverend Sylvester Graham, s'mores are here to stay. And if you've never had one, you really don't know what you're missing. In fact, you might want to keep one hand free when you eat them. I know I do. Just in case I'm overcome with the desire to, grab another one. Anyway, that's the way I heard it.
Mike?
Oh, honey, what do you think of this
No
towel
ad.
for the backsplash?
Nice, but
Quiet. Mike Rowe is a seminal American. Mike Rowe is a patriot. I can't believe that he made it through that whole thing without cracking once. He it actually was a Mike Rowe episode that is the ultimate reason why Eastwood is named Eastwood. But maybe I'll play that episode for you guys sometime. It's a very, very good one. Very, very good one. Now, obviously, there's a bunch of Lindsey Graham puns that are just waiting to be lined up. Unfortunately, none of them are coming immediately to mind because I'm still I never would have imagined that I would live in a world where I would hear Mike Rowe say horny degenerates and where my personal log of euphemisms for jerking it is overwhelmingly populated by Mike Rowe. I did not think that I was going to live in that world, but I'm frankly happy that I do. Here's a little ecumenical video here. Let's just make fun of all the Christians. How about that?
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Bless us, O Lord, for these are thy... Christ our God, bless the food and drink of thy servants. Lord, we just thank you for this food and this fellowship, and for the great red, white, and blue, and for Pastor Billy Joe. Yeah, God, we really just thank you for this food. We really just want to, Lord, if it is by your sovereign decree that we eat, then we will eat, because we really had no say in it anyways. Lord, thank you for this food and that we're justified by grace alone, through faith alone, in Christ alone, based upon Scripture alone. Oh Lord, we humbly beseech thee to bless this meal. Lord, break every stronghold in the bread, and in the apple, and in the peanut butter. Lord, bless this food and this unofficial meeting that we somehow started before anyone took a bite. Lord, thank you for this meal that you sovereignly decreed, and now we will eat it in the most theologically responsible way. Daddy God, thank you so much for all the tithing. Universe, thank you so much for these vibrations and that I manifested this meal. I am one with the bread.
Now, very interesting that he, it's some fun, theology slop or something like that. Theology TikTok slop. But then the inclusion of I'm spiritual there at the end is actually, that's a good little nugget. You see how it's the exact same. It's like a cargo cult sort of the exact same thing. Now Michael Millerman is a great podcast to follow. I mentioned the other day that I was listening to him reading through some of Heidegger, and he's very good, very, 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 very balanced in a nice sense. Like he's very even keeled, doesn't get really spun out one way or the other. He's happy to engage with even like pretty extreme forms of fascism and nationalism or whatever. Like he's temperamentally a lib kind of, but like his great thing was he went and made his life study Alexander Dugin and translated a whole bunch of his stuff and is like the world's greatest scholar on Dugin. Very, very interesting guy to follow. Good podcast. Very consumable. If some of the more dense political thinkers or philosophical writers are people you've heard about and you wanted to understand, but it's kind of a little over your head or it's dry and hard to follow. He does a good job of reading through stuff and explaining it in about as neutral terms as you can possibly get. So he has this little test here that I thought would be kind of fun to go through. Your philosophical DNA. It's a little diagnostic quiz that he made, 10 questions. And so it says, your philosophical DNA, 10 questions that reveal which traditions shape how you actually think. You already think like a philosopher, you just don't know which one. This diagnostic maps you across 5 dimensions of philosophical thought: metaphysics, politics, epistemology, technology, and human nature. Each question forces a choice between traditions that have been arguing with each other for centuries. So at the outset here, it is forcing you to choose among extant traditions. There has to be an arbitrary thing here. So you're not going to get maybe a perfect reflection. It's kind of the exercise here is to see, if I try to force you into one of these traditions, where do you wind up? So it's 10 questions. No right answers. First one. A brilliant scientist discovers a technology that could double human lifespan, but would require a global governing body to distribute it fairly. What concerns you most? First option. That we're treating human life as a technical problem to be optimized. I don't disagree with that. That seems like a good answer. Second answer. That the governing body would inevitably become tyrannical, whatever its stated purpose. Sure, I guess, maybe. It doesn't really concern me that much. There'd be much deeper things that I'd be more concerned about than that. That sort of thing happening only happens because of the deeper things. Third answer, that restricting access based on some committee's judgment violates individual rights. Basically the same as the second. My opinion of it is the same as the second one. And then the last one, that extending life just postpones the harder question of what makes a life worth living. So that one, the first one and the last one are clearly the strongest contenders to me. And I thought that I was going to give it I was going to answer the first one, but I get to the fourth one and I'm like, yeah, no, that's the thing that would be most apparent to me. This would be a very close second, but I think this here presumes something about. I think the first one presumes something about the fourth one. Because if you're engaging with the harder question of what makes a life worth living, then if you're honestly and truthfully engaging in that, then that places some type of constraint on the tendency to treat human life as a technical problem to be optimized. So if you solve for the fourth answer, then I think you're more likely to not have to worry about the first answer or the second or the third. So I say the fourth one. Question 2. 2 historians are debating. One says great books contain hidden teachings meant only for careful readers. The other says understanding develops over centuries as humanity collectively advances. Who do you instinctively side with? So one says great books have hidden teachings that are only for careful readers. So there's only a select few. This would be like the Straussian take. There are hidden meanings that are embedded in the texts that are intended to be picked up on by people who read carefully or who have maybe the IQ or life experience necessarily to pick up on the references. Sort of like a really a simplified version of this might be the way that like old Pixar movies would have jokes in them that you wouldn't pick up on as a kid, but as an adult, you go back and you listen to it and you're like, oh man, I never even picked up on that when I was a kid. That sort of thing. So one side says that great books have those things in them that are only meant for careful readers. The other says that understanding develops over centuries as humanity collectively advances. Now, I actually don't think that these are necessarily in opposition with each other. I think the way that the understanding develops over centuries as humanity collectively advances is a consequence of the careful readers picking out the hidden teachings. I think you don't want to get too esoteric and whatever with it, but secret societies have governed every human society. That's how humans organize themselves. There's always going to be some measure of secret society that is making the ultimate decisions. Which one do I instinctively side with? The first, the deepest truths have always been partially concealed, and reading well is an art few master. Hard agree with that. The second says, each generation genuinely understands more than the last. That's what progress means. Definitely don't necessarily agree with that. Both are partly right, but I'm suspicious of anyone who claims to have the key to hidden meanings. I mean, close, I guess. I'm not necessarily suspicious of anyone who claims to have the key to hidden meanings. I also don't instinctively believe them, but you do test them by their fruits. So I guess I'm kind of along these lines. The last one is neither. Meaning isn't discovered or uncovered. It's created by whoever has the strength to impose it. Well, that's actually, I didn't think I was going to land on neither in this case, but that's actually, meaning isn't discovered or uncovered. It's created by whoever has the strength to impose it. Yeah, that's where I'm at. False dialectic identified. Shit test passed. Question 3. A friend says, I don't know what I'm meant to do with my life. What's your first instinct? Answer 1. Everyone has a nature and natural capacities. The task is discovering what yours are and cultivating them. Okay. There's nothing you're meant to do. You choose, you commit, and that choice is what gives your life shape. Yeah, I'm a little closer to that. Look at what history and your situation demand of you. Purpose comes from your place in the larger story. Okay, definitely getting warmer. Stop looking inward and start looking at what genuinely needs doing in the world around you. Ooh. This is like a waterfall. That was, I mean, I don't think you can stop looking inward, but it's like stop obsessively looking inward. Stop like spending all your time focused inward and look at what genuinely needs doing. And then that will tell you what history and your situation demand of you. You'll find your purpose in the larger story. And then you choose, you commit to that purpose, and that choice is what gives your life shape to inform your place in the larger story. And so then you could say the first one is in some sense kind of a summary of the others. Like if I have the background of all of these, I might land on the first one, but I think foundationally I'm down here on the fourth one. Stop looking inward and start looking at what genuinely needs doing in the world around you. Stop focusing inward.
The N-word!
Number 4, a close friend has become deeply involved in a political movement you find misguided. They're passionate, sincere, and increasingly unreachable.
We're going to kill you. We're going to give you the death penalty or kill you.
What do you think is really going on? Answer 1, they've stopped thinking and started believing. The movement has replaced philosophy with ideology. I don't know that I would put an equivalence between believing and ideology here, which is kind of what this has done. Yeah, I mean, somewhat depending on your frame, you might see believing as a pejorative here. Like thinking is what you do, is the good thing, and believing, that's the bad thing. You can't be believing. You must always be thinking. This is like Reddit. That's my instinct from this is like a Reddit answer. Number 2, they found something real that the mainstream is afraid to address. Maybe I should listen harder. Yeah, sometimes. I'm always kind of interested in those sorts of things. Number 3, everyone has their right to their own political commitments. It's not my place to judge. No, I don't agree with that. This is how history moves, through passionate minorities who drag everyone else forward or backward. I mean, that's kind of a different answer than the others. I would probably have this reaction, but like, I guess this would be my baseline understanding of it, is that this is how history moves. Passionate minorities who drag everyone else forward or backward. So yeah, I'd go with that one. Yeah, Ryan Isaac, the test certainly requires you to think more than skim. Yeah. I went through I saw the first question. I haven't gone through this one. I did one of his other ones, but I saw the first question, or the first question with the first 4 answers, and then was like, this would be good to do on the show. So question 5 of 10. A corrupt but effective government has brought prosperity and stability to a nation for 20 years. A democratic movement rises to replace it. The transition will almost certainly cause economic collapse and years of instability. What's your position? Okay, so tyranny that has produced prosperity and stability for a couple decades. And within now, people that are getting so used to the prosperity and the stability that we're going to do our democracy shift now. But in doing the democracy shift, we're going to destroy a bunch of shit and make everything unstable. What's your position? Okay. Support the democratic movement. Legitimacy matters more than outcomes, even if the cost is high. Begging the question. Legitimacy is not inherently bound to democratic approval. Answer 2. Keep the current government. Stability and prosperity matter more than how power was attained. Very much inclined to answer this, but let's see what the other ones are. The question itself reveals a false choice. A truly wise leader would find a way to reform without revolution. That seems very good. I'm maybe inclined that direction. Last one. Neither side has the right answer. History will decide, and what emerges will be whatever the people actually have the strength to build. I'm noticing a pattern here with these the ordering of these questions. I think. You see, the pattern is support this side, support, and then it's like either support both sides or sort of transcend it, or be opposed to both sides. Or these are kind of trading sides on that. The third and the fourth one are going back and forth sort of between either like just transcending it or openly hostilely rejecting it. You can see how the dialectic constantly keeps you, left path, right path, middle path, fuck the path. Left path, right path, middle path, fuck the path. Over and over and over again. Yeah. I think my problem with 4 here is history will decide. This is too determinist. What emerges will be whatever the people actually have the strength to build. That is true. That is, it's a truism. What emerges will definitionally be whatever the people actually have the strength to build. But then I would also kind of quibble with the people. This is still a little democratic for me. So I think the question itself reveals a false choice. A truly wise leader would find a way to reform without revolution. That's exactly it. The truly wise leader will figure out a way to keep himself in power. And if he does not remain in power, then that is, by definition, a judgment upon him as a leader. Question 6 of 10. AI systems are now writing poetry, composing music, and producing art indistinguishable from human work. How do you feel? Okay, so it's not necessarily saying that this is the case. It's just positing this as the case. Assume this is the case, that the poetry, the music composition, and the art production are all indistinguishable from human work. How do you feel about this? Answer 1. Uneasy. Something essential about human creativity is being flattened into computation. Excited. These are tools that will unlock creative possibilities we can't yet imagine. It proves that what we call genius was never mystical. It was pattern and training all along. I don't think those are opposites of each other. I think that pattern and training, that mysticism is pattern and training, and pattern and training is mystical. And then number 4, the art itself doesn't change. A beautiful poem is beautiful regardless of its origin. I think that. I think the art, I think just because a tool produces art doesn't make it not art. If you programmed a robot to paint a picture, to paint a literal picture, you programmed it, and you either programmed all of the motions into it such that it would paint the picture, or you remote controlled it and did it. One's more direct, one's more removed. I think it can still be beautiful and can be appreciated as art if the composition of it is good. If it just looks like diarrhea splattered on an easel, then no, it doesn't. It's like you're going to judge the art however it's produced. I think even AI produced art is actually human produced because the AI came from humanity and it's been trained on human data. And even if you train the AI on AI-produced data, you're still training it on human data because it's still something that was produced by humans. This whole thing, the whole idea of like AI being sentient or this distinction between AI, it's like how would you distinguish between something natural and something man-made? Like this is a distinction is it's natural for man to make things. So even man-made things are still natural. It's a recomposition of atoms into some way. So it's a false question. I think it's totally getting distracted down a conversation rabbit hole that doesn't go anywhere productive. So this is probably the hardest one of all of this, but I would probably say the fourth one. It'd be somewhere between 3 and 4. But this has like a negative framing that I think it's a positive thing. What we call genius is mystical. And it's pattern and training all along. And pattern and training, the being able to observe patterns, to notice patterns, and to train to notice them and be able to manipulate them, like that is genius, and it is a mystical thing. You can autism it all you want, but at the end of the day, it is mystical. It just seems mundane to us because humanity's freaking incredible. That even these insane mystical things that humanity is capable of, we just see as mundane, ordinary, technical mumbo jumbo. So yeah, I'm going to say the fourth one. Question 7. Is there such a thing as a truth that was true before anyone thought it? Okay. So number 1, yes, mathematical and moral truths exist independently of human minds. Okay. 2, no, truth is something humans create through language, power, and interpretation. Okay. Number 3, truth exists, but it unfolds historically. It becomes available to us only as we're ready for it. And then the fourth one, the question itself reveals more about the asker than about truth. Why does it matter to you? Okay, that one is absolutely feels like a cop-out answer, but it is, I think of these 4, I think that's the best. Because all of these are referring to truth as like mathematical and moral truths exist independently of human minds. I would say that is technically correct. But the truth is a person. So if you're not talking about truth in a personal sense, then we're not even on the same page to discuss what truth is. We haven't even gotten to the base level of defining terms. So I would go with option 4. 3 is biblically true. It is technically, but it has truth as it. That it there. That's what I'm like, You may be using these mouth sounds, but I don't think that the mind pictures behind those mouth sounds are the same as mine. Truth exists, and he unfolds historically. He becomes available to us only as we're ready for him. That's close. That's good. Like I would endorse that. But there's a rationalism, a materialism sort of behind this that I can't get on board with. So I'm going to go with 4. Question 8 of 10. Thank you, Emperor Atreides. A young person with extraordinary music talent is born into a small community that desperately needs a doctor. Medical school is available. Music conservatory is not. What should they do? Okay, study medicine. Your gifts exist to serve the community that raised you. That's what human excellence actually means.
Welcome to the Gulag. If you survive, you earn your freedom.
Thank you for the gifted sub, Emperor Atreides. And congratulations to Kingless Kingdom. You're able to use the emotes again. Tyler says but I did have breakfast crowd would have such a tough time with this. Yeah. Okay, so extraordinary music talent, born into a small community, desperately needs a doctor. Medical school is not available. Medical school is available. Music conservatory is not. Okay, so does she follow her natural talent, or does she do what her community needs? So study medicine. Your gifts exist to serve the community that raised you. That's what human excellence actually means. Okay? Find a way to pursue music at any cost. Sacrificing your deepest talent to meet others' expectations is a betrayal of yourself. Study medicine for now, but never stop playing. Life is long enough for both. Okay, I like that one the best so far. The whole framing is wrong. Why is the community so small that one person's career choice is a crisis? Fix the system. That it comes down to almost always like the third or the fourth option for me. But I think that I don't mind the spirit behind the fourth one. This is sort of that, like why is it a crisis? There's something else that's wrong. If it's a crisis, that she has to decide between these two things, that she has to be pulled between these two things. Why does the community desperately need a doctor? Why is that not already why do we have communities that are in this state now, currently? Maybe a couple hundred years ago would have been a different thing, but now I would say this is something that needs to be addressed more than so that these sorts of issues are of less pressing relevance. But I would say from these, there's a little too much commie in that also to me. And sort of like everything has to come back to the system, and it's divorcing it from practical things that individual people can do today. So I'm going to say number 3 for this one. Study medicine for now, but never stop playing. Life is long enough for both. Number 9, you're advising a powerful person, a CEO, a president, someone who shapes the lives of thousands. What's the most important thing you'd want them to understand? Ooh, this is an interesting one. Okay. Number 1, the difference between what they can say publicly and what they need to think privately. Not all truths are safe to speak. Okay, that's a good answer. Number 2, that their power is legitimate only if those they govern consent to it. Everything else is tyranny. Okay, throw that one out. Number 2 is not an option. Number 3, that every decision reveals an understanding of human nature, and most leaders have never examined theirs. Ooh, I like that one. This is a little more down to earth, sort of pragmatic. This is more. This is getting more into the mysticism. So obviously I'm drawn to those things. And then number 4, that the forces shaping the world are bigger than any individual. The question is whether they can ride the wave or get crushed by it. Ooh. This is a hard one. I think I'm going to say number 4, because the most important thing I want them to understand, so this would be important to know. They may already know this, especially if they're already in a position like that. I'm sure they already know this. They already know the difference between what they can say publicly and need to think privately. That kind of is like, there's a self-selection that gets you to that point, that most people who are in that position already understand that dynamic, for better or for worse. Number 2 is just out. Number 3, that every decision reveals an understanding of human nature and most leaders have never examined theirs. If there was like the one most important thing I could tell them, I wouldn't do that, because there's the possibility that they have examined theirs. And now me telling them this is telling them something that they already know. That the forces shaping the world are bigger than any individual. The question is whether they can ride the wave or get crushed by it. I would probably go for this one. Because it's really easy for these sorts of people to get really wrapped up in their own egos. And remembering that the forces that shape the world are bigger than any individual is really important. So I would go for 4. Yeah, Cheeky says, why would I be lecturing a CEO? I'd be asking for advice or wisdom. Right, for sure. But the premise of the question was assume that this is a responsibility of yours. So, okay. Question 10 of 10. 2 philosophers are arguing. One says, justice is the same everywhere and always, whether anyone recognizes it or not. The other says, justice is whatever the strongest community decides it is. It changes with every civilization. Who's right? Okay, this is an interesting one. Answer 1, the first. Some things are right or wrong regardless of what any culture says. Otherwise, criticism of slavery or genocide is just cultural preference. Okay. The second, every civilization defines justice differently, and none can claim universal authority. Thinking otherwise is imperial arrogance. Yeah, no. We can throw the second one out straight away. Number 3, both are partly right. There may be universal principles, but they always manifest through particular cultures. Now we're getting somewhere. And then the last thing, the argument itself is a power play. Whoever wins gets to define the terms everyone else lives by. Yes. The argument itself is a power play. Whoever wins gets to define the terms everyone else lives by. I am the Aristotelian. Completely unsurprisingly, dominant dimension, human nature. Humans have a nature, a telos, a natural end. We flourish by developing our capacities toward excellence. Aristotle's ethics is your instinctive framework. The chat loves power. So true. So true. Everyone's like 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. My Texas people will appreciate that one. 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. If human nature grounds your ethics, what do you wish to do with the parts of human nature that are cruel, tribal, and destructive? Are those natural too? Yes, they are. Let's see here. 5 dimensions. Oh, hang on. His thing doesn't have a dark mode dealie here. Do this. Well, it did it on the other ones. Why is it not doing it on here? Can I just turn it off? Well, that's not a great web design. It actually is a dark mode website, and you can't see the bars that he has here. Well, percentages. 77% Nietzschean, I think. I gotta try to assume now the baseline of all of these. Yeah, I can't do that on the fly. That's weird. I don't know why he would have his website be that way. Is there something that you can't see the bars of them at all? Weird. I don't know if refresh is actually going to help with this, because this is a like a temporary site just produced for my result. I wonder if I share on X, what does that do? Now it just shows the. I was going to see if it would show me a graphic representation of it, but apparently not. Well, anyways, I'm an Aristotelian. Slutty Milk says I got Trumpian. Patriot. Slutty Milk is mogging me. All right, I'll include the link to this if you guys want to go do it yourself. Diagnostic.millermanschool.com is the direct link for it, but it will be the tweet will be located on the. Oh, that's what it was supposed to look like. So there was some sort of an artifact there that was not coming through right. Anyways, all right. So speaking of Millerman, he says tech right and trad right. The seeds of a conflict were there from the beginning, and you can see how they have grown. Right now, everyone's talking about the Zionism thing, but I do think that the tech right versus trad right thing is going to become a bigger question down the line. Nate Fisher argues that a rapprochement is possible. Do you agree? We shall read. Make sure that I have this on the right. Okay. An aspirational tech right, populist right alliance. This is on Zero Hedge, originally authored by Nate Fisher via American Intelligence. The relationship between the tech right and the populist right is a central question of our day. After an initial alliance in the lead up to the 2024 campaign, fissures quickly appeared. The first prominent one was the Christmas H-1B fight. Others followed, both in and out of the administration. In many ways, the divide has been growing, with Bannon leading tech critiques and Republican politicians like DeSantis staking out tech-skeptical stances. Trump has managed to keep things together, but the future is unclear. I believe an alliance is necessary both for America's success and for the right to have the power to dislodge the entrenched establishment left. The simplest approach would be a pragmatic alliance of necessity. Both factions push distinct priorities and compromise where necessary to form a political coalition. But I think we should aim for more, for an alliance between the tech right and the populist or cultural right that gives each group a crucial or even heroic role in a shared vision for America. I believe such a vision can center on, 1, an appreciation for the conditions and the people that ultimately drive tech-enabled prosperity, and 2, an appreciation for how disruptive technology can structurally favor right-aligned constituencies and address central priorities of the cultural right. Ryan Isaac says, TLDR, Vance is the fusion of both. So true. So true indeed. Populists need tech. The populist right needs tech. It may not need specific tech elites or even anywhere close to a majority of current Silicon Valley figures, but it needs a positive vision for technology, and it needs people who can master technology. 2 factors drive this. First, Americans have always been favorably inclined to technology. I believe if the parties split on technology, the pro-tech party will have a significant structural advantage with the electorate. This inclination is not new. In 1840, Tocqueville noted how Americans happily built ships that would last only a few years because of their enthusiasm for new innovations that would quickly obsolesce them. In the mid to late 19th century, Americans broadly embraced the power of technologies from the revolver to the railroad to conquer and settle the West. And America's embrace of technology was certainly apparent in the broad popularity of the tech industry for much of the last half-century. It's possible a tech-skeptical party can succeed in other countries, but I suspect that in America, any party capable of real wins must present a positive vision for the use and mastery of technology. I could not agree more. Absolutely could not agree more. This is not this is not he's making an is claim, not an ought claim. And getting bogged down on the ought side of it here would be a loser's gambit. Don't take this as that he's arguing that this should be the case. He's identifying a phenomenon that I believe is the case. Emperor Atreides says, I just readjusted my investments today to be bullish America and tech. I am never betting against Trump or Elon. Wish me luck. This patriot is putting his money where his mouth is. Good for you, patriot. Second, whether we like it or not, technology will shape the future. This has always been true to varying extents. People and groups who mastered major new technologies usually gained outside influence and often came to rule new regimes. In the case of major transitions like the shift to the digital age, the stakes are particularly high. Opposing technologies like AI may be a little like opposing gunpowder in the 15th century. Many may not have liked its impact on the world, but the world was shaped by those who mastered it. This guy's he's just describing my opinions on technology. Now the other side, tech needs populists. The tech right also needs populist support. Entrenched legacy leftist interest groups retain tremendous power, and without strong opposition will simultaneously try to stifle new technologies and squeeze technologists for the money needed to fund their ever more bloated programs. Populists represent large factions deeply skeptical of this legacy regime and are capable of bringing tremendous political energy to any opposing coalition. A populist right aligns with tech on more than just opposition to legacy elites. Right-leaning Americans are among the only people on earth broadly supportive of the free market policies and rule of law that allow Silicon Valley to thrive. While populism can create tensions with free market and rule of law idealists, the broad populist right goal of cultural preservation includes restoration of the conditions necessary to preserve these norms. It's an interesting thing that if you want to be a technology maximalist, you cannot also be a lib. Those things are just fundamentally in opposition to each other, inevitably. There's actually a very strong incentive, like almost like to a worrying degree. There is a much stronger incentive for technologists to ultimately be completely like racial eugenicists. Deeper alignment. Finally, I believe the tech right and populist right need each other. Not just to politically partner against common enemies, but to achieve the technological dynamism technologists pursue and the restored status and opportunity populists seek. So what is it the technologists need, want, are striving for? Technological dynamism, which means they're going to need a high value workforce. They're going to need competent, effective, stable people. The ones who they do employ need to be reliable and have high ceilings and be comfortable with risk taking and like stable, consistent, reliable people. And on the flip side, the populists need restored status. They need their country back, and they need opportunity. The system has been structurally oriented around trying to freeze them out and impoverish them as much as possible. Goes on long enough, and pretty soon you got to take whatever political allies you can get just for the sake of having political allies and retaining your existence. This symbiosis reflects the particular character of the American people in a time of technological disruption. Americans are uniquely suited to mastering technology. Americans are good for tech innovators, multiplying the impact of new technologies by acting not just as consumers, but as creative and productive users of technology. This is not limited to a few exceptional entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley. Rather, millions of Americans and companies across the country have a particular drive, relative to many other cultures globally, to find new sources of leverage and better ways to do things. These are people who jump on new technologies that can solve such problems, embracing the change this entails. A country of such people is a country ripe for innovations that would find far smaller markets in more conservative or less resourceful societies. This particular character opens the aperture for technological innovation and plays a key role in America's technological dynamism. That right there, this American personality trait, the frontier spirit that Americans have, can be uniquely leveraged for technological innovation that's mutually beneficial to both sides. By the same token, technologists can be good for the American people. While many tech innovations theoretically spread rapidly around the globe, in practice, Americans will often be the biggest beneficiaries of them because of this particular facility with technology, advancing the relative position of the American people in a time of global and cultural competition. In other words, Americans have this natural tech inclination, this willingness to be early adopters, this willingness to whether it's associated with status or a desire for productivity, Protestant work ethic, whatever it is, there's something about the American spirit that naturally gloms onto new technology and masters it quickly. So having an alignment between the tech right and the populist right, the nationalist right, having that alignment together, I know I'm taking some liberties a little bit with the equating populist and nationalist, but grant you the liberty. There's what's the term here where you get, instead of diminishing returns, you get like accelerating benefits. This is especially true for core constituencies of the populist right, such as independent executives and skilled physical world workers who stand to benefit from technologies like AI, in contrast with core opposing constituencies like bureaucrats, who are ripe for replacement with AI. Call to action. So here we go. Now we have a call to action. Thus, the tech right should champion not just the free markets widely recognized as enabling Silicon Valley's success, but also the people and culture that make America such a fertile place for technological innovation and development. I don't know what he's meaning by free markets here. I mean, he's contrasting this, I guess, with perhaps in terms of regulations not being as strictly regulated, since the current liberal establishment is essentially the reason the tech right is the tech right is because of their hostility to the liberal establishment that wants to strangle them to death with regulations. So I mean, that's why he's referring to free markets here. Practically, this means embracing both product and policy decisions that strengthen rather than undermine this culture. This means building products that solve critical problems and serve as platforms for broader productive application, and avoiding products that contribute to vice or addiction. And it means supporting immigration and trade policies that first and foremost strengthen the American people, rather than optimizing for those that serve the most immediate desires of tech companies. His call to action for the tech right is to develop a lower time preference as an industry. Not the most immediate desires. Think long term. That having a immigration restrictionist, trade protectionist, strongly nativist and nationalist America is going to be the best possible situation for them to get their all the technological advancement that they want. The populist right should embrace technological innovation. This means encouraging Americans at all levels to master new technologies, recognizing the potential of such technologies to advance America's position versus geopolitical rivals, and the position of core populist right constituencies domestically. I mean, embracing technological innovation is a very quick path to economic relevance. And if you want to have the economic position such that you can begin enforcing your own mores upon the system, as it were, then embracing technological innovation is a great way to build up your capacity to actually be a political constituency to be reckoned with. And it means politically supporting tech leaders who accept their responsibility to the American people, supporting policies that allow continued innovation and protecting successful innovators from the confiscatory efforts of the left. The alliance I propose is aspirational. Today, many in Silicon Valley, even many who would see themselves on the right, have little regard for the priorities of the populist or cultural right. And many populists more easily see the immediate threats that social media poses to families and that AI poses to jobs. Thank you, Emperor Atreides. And they remember with disgust the degree to which tech companies embrace censorship and deplatforming. But I believe the need for political alliance is clear and the potential alignment toward a shared vision far deeper than many recognize. One of the great opportunities for statesmanship in coming years is the forging of such an alliance. A good post, in my opinion. Speaking of the tech right, Mark Andreessen on March 17th posted, current status, retard-maxing. And he was asked about this on a recent podcast. Here's what he had to say.
Are you aware? Are you aware at this point of the concept of the meme of retard-maxing?
Do you know what? If I'm totally honest, I've seen it on like every comment of our thread where I say like, oh, I've got Mark coming on the show, and everyone's like, ask Mark about retard-maxing, ask Mark about retard-maxing. And honestly, it's one of those, Mark, where I'm just like, okay, get back to like my normal research, because I presume retard-maxing is not politically correct and I shouldn't ask it, but you brought up retard-maxing, so no.
Well, so first of all, retard-maxing is totally politically correct, because retard is no longer, I mean, we now have 18 other terms that apply to people who are like, you know, developmentally disabled, and so like retard has long since, it now means something completely different. And it turns out what it means, specifically in the context of retard-maxing. Well, let me explain why I came across this. So the internet meme machine is just absolutely spectacular. I think like the process.
Cheeky says anyone spreading the AI will replace most jobs. Its inevitable demoralization psyop should be publicly executed. So true. So true.
Cultural evolution of internet memes is like absolutely amazing. I think like the whole like the looks, the whole like clavicular. I don't even know if you're into this. The looks maxing like that entire, you know, the whole like clavicular. All the terms now are mainstreaming. And obviously there's many internet meme examples. You know, one of my favorite websites in life is knowyourmeme.com, which is the comprehensive catalog of memes. And so like the cultural evolution of what's happening online, I just think is incredible and wonderful in so many ways. And then I got in this dust up online a couple weeks ago about introspection that you mentioned. And then a friend of mine sent me this thing and he said, he's like, oh, here's your answer. He's like, you're retard-maxing. And I said, I'm what? And he said, oh, watch these videos. And there's this guy we could link to who's on YouTube who has basically, 100 videos on retard-maxing. And he's like my new life coach. You know, I haven't met him, but like from a distance.
So see what you can do? You can just start a YouTube channel and eventually influence billionaires. How can you ever blackpill?
And it's basically just like, you know, retard. It's just like, okay, like, fine. Like, retard max, go to work, do a good job, come home. It's fine. Start a company, succeeds, it fails. It's fine. Have too much to eat one night at dinner. It's fine. Go to the gym. Don't count your reps. It's fine. You know, ask a girl if she wants to go out with you. If she says no, it's fine, right? And so it's the simpler form of the extreme ownership.
You can just
right?
do things,
or it's the form of it that basically I've said maybe another form of it that says I don't need to take all this in on myself. I can just let it go. And so
the thing I love about the internet, Mark, is there is some guy who is doing these retard-maxing videos who now has Mark Andreessen as one of his biggest fans. And
many
you're just
such
like,
cases.
how great is that?
They're incredible. Well, it's like 130-minute videos about retard-maxing, and you would.
Mark has been deeply embedded into weird little niche. I don't know. How would you say it? Because like I was gonna say like fascist online communities for a while, but like retard-maxing is not like it's a separate thing. But Mark's been around. He knows a thing or two about weird little niche corners on the internet.
You would think that after the first 2 minutes, he'd kind of covered it.
Oh no, we got a catalog.
But no. And by the way, they're all hysterical. They're all absolutely fantastic. And it's literally like him on his porch in the middle of nowhere with like a cigar, and it's like a half hour. It's just absolutely spectacular.
Okay. The ballroom. Oh man, that means I want to have that makes me think of what's his name? Alex Jones. Hold on just a second. Let me see if I can pull this up. I might be able to make this play here if I can find it. It made me think of this. Hold on. Oh, where is it? Where is it? I know it's in here somewhere. Here it is.
And we're not getting what humans always thought was key, the bone broth. The bone broth. The bone broth. The bone broth.
Anyways, the rape dungeon. Donald Trump's rape dungeon. President Trump is livid after a judge blocks White House ballroom construction until Congress approves it. So a gaping hole is just left on the White House grounds? Unreal! Unreal. We can't have gaping holes just laying around. We live in a society. My president says, the National Trust for Historic Preservation sues me for a ballroom that is under budget, ahead of schedule, being built at no cost to the taxpayer, and will be the finest building of its kind anywhere in the world. Yet, the National Trust for Historic Preservation, a radical left group of lunatics, whose funding was stopped by Congress in 2005. You guys don't even have federal funding. Get good, losers. It's not suing the Federal Reserve for a building which has been decimated and destroyed inside and out by an incompetent and possibly corrupt Fed chairman. Ooh, Uncle Jay catching some strays. The once magnificent building is billions over budget, may never be completed, and may never open. All of the beautiful walls inside have been ripped down. Think of the walls, people. They're ripping down the beautiful walls. Never to be built again, but the National Trust for Historic Preservation never did anything about it. Or have they sued on Governor Gavin Newsom's railroad to nowhere in California that is billions over budget and probably will never open or be used? So the White House Ballroom and the Trump Kennedy Center, which are under budget, ahead of schedule, and will be among the most magnificent buildings of their kind anywhere in the world, get sued by a group that was cut off by government years ago. But all of the many disasters in our country are left alone to die? Doesn't make much sense, does it? The railroad to nowhere. He keeps doing it. He's so good. Now here's him talking about his, actually no, I wasn't going to play this video because it's, there's another one that I want to play for you. This one here. So here is Trump on an airplane describing his ballroom. And there's some interesting things here.
Now the military is building a big complex under the ballroom, which has...
The military is building a big complex under this ballroom. Fascinating. Everyone's like, why is he building this ballroom? What's the point of that? Well, now we learn, I mean, I can conclude from this that it wasn't like Trump's like, hey, let's build a ballroom. And the military's like, hey, FYI, if you're going to do that, we're going to build a big, giant 9-story complex underneath the ballroom. No. Trump building the ballroom is actually because this was a military plan.
Has come out recently because of a stupid lawsuit that was filed. But the military is building a massive complex under the ballroom.
So this was not supposed to be public. But because this lawsuit was filed by the, what was it called? The National Trust for Historic Preservation, who lost their federal funding 21 years ago. They filed this lawsuit, which is what brought this previously classified knowledge to light.
And that's under construction, and we're doing very well. So we're ahead of schedule. It's part of it. The ballroom essentially becomes a shed for what's being built under the military, including from drones and including from any other thing. The glass on the windows, you see the big windows, the glass is extremely thick. It's high-grade bulletproof glass. So all of the windows are bulletproof. I think the Times wrote, gee, some of the windows are fake. We have no fake windows. They said, they talked about a stairway.
How dare you suggest that my president has fake windows? How dare you?
The South, we don't have a stairway in the South. That was replaced a long time ago. But this is a view of it from the north, and that's, if you see it, it fits in with the White House. It's almost a twin to the White House. It's something we just wanted to pay tribute to the White House.
The nuclear rape bunker. So yes, we must now speculate about what this reportedly. I haven't validated this, so take it with a grain of salt. But reportedly, it's like 9 stories deep. They're building a freaking nuclear bunker. Now I'd imagine there's already something under there. I assume that there's tunnels and shit under there, and has been for a long time. But here's another clip of Trump talking about this, and then we're going to do a little fun speculating.
And we have some projects that are great. This ballroom is going to be something that's so beautiful for the city, so desperately needed by presidents. I mean, now it's no secret the military wanted it more than anybody. It was supposed to be secret, but it became unsecret because of people that are really unpatriotic saying things. But does it matter? Doesn't.
The military wanted it more than anybody. There you go. He says the military wanted it more than anybody. He was, in his mind, was whoever he was thinking about, but he just said anybody because he's not going to air out whoever it was he was thinking about.
Doesn't matter. It's going to be great. We're building an arc, a triumphal arc, which will be incredible for the city. Incredible. We're fixing
architecture
up
maxing.
What was the Kennedy Center? You know, I was honored when the board changed the name a little bit. Actually, it shows that the Republican and the Democrats, they work together. It's really something we work together. So I think it's a great symbol, actually. But we're doing a lot of work. That building is ready to fall down. It's in terrible shape. We're closing it. We're going to open it with a bang in less than 2 years. It'll come in under budget, ahead of schedule. That's what I do.
That's what I do. My president knows his building. You might have heard that he's had a real estate career at times in the past. So, War Clandestine, one of my favorite schizo posters. He says, hear me out. Trump and the U.S. military have secured and or remodeled multiple subterranean structures at multiple locations across D.C. When Trump secured D.C. with the U.S. military and National Guard in August of 2025, the Trump admin publicly disclosed, that they were reviewing the Smithsonian tunnels and their full archives. Trump secured the Smithsonian tunnel network that runs beneath the Capitol and National Mall. Meanwhile, U.S. military presence was mainly focused on metro hubs like Union Station and other metro stations around the Capitol and the White House. When Trump was touring the Trump Kennedy Center in March of 2025, he criticized the $250 million allocated for unused, quote, underground rooms, to which he later announced the close of the Trump Kennedy Center for a 2-year renovation. In addition, now that we know that the military are the ones who wanted the ballroom, not Trump. Now we know that the military are the ones who wanted the ballroom, not Trump. According to Trump himself, the ballroom is just a shed to cover whatever massive complex the U.S. military are building beneath the surface. What's my point? That there seems to be a focus on subterranean D.C. As for what exactly is going on, I'm unsure, but I know a trend when I see one. Here's your map, if you don't know D.C., so the Smithsonian tunnels are under here. The Capitol's over here on the right. Union Station is up here on the upper right. White House is kind of in the middle. And then the Trump/Kennedy Center is way over here on the left along the Potomac. So, yeah, there's stuff going on in the tunnels. My president heard about those tunnels. And he decided that he wanted his own tunnels. He wants his own tunnel network. He is going to fund the construction of this ballroom so that he can have his own tunnel network. So he can run around in there and chase them all down.
You want to kill the Jews?
Yeah, someone else said that that we're not going to be putting the libs into crystals anymore. We're going to send them to the rape dungeon under under the ballroom. Straight Buster said, asked if they're gonna call it like the taint dungeon or something because it's underneath the balls. You got to be here for the pre-show, folks. Now, that's the underground schizo stuff. On the flip side, there's all these fireball events that have been reported lately. Astronomers say the surge of large fireball events worldwide recently warrants serious investigation. About a dozen of the biggest are all coming from the same place in space. And one of my latest favorite schizo theories from Brandon Weichert here, We the Brandon, says a distinct possibility that we and our great power rivals, Russia, China, Iran, or even North Korea, are shadowboxing with anti-satellite weapons in the strategic high ground of space, and we're witnessing the downstream effects of that shadowboxing. I'm going to really encourage you guys to go listen to the conversation on Tommy's podcast from today between Joaquin Flores and Colonel Watkins. They really got into the weeds about the extent to which these sorts of hyper-reality events can be constructed nowadays, and just how difficult it is to truly know, like in a journalistic sense, be able to confirm things that are or are not happening. And this is a relatively recent thing. Like, genuinely not being able to identify whether major world leaders are even dead or not. Having no way of being able to validate that, whether specific bombings and stuff are actually happening. And Joaquin especially has identified these patterns in Trump's language, where there's been so many of them now that it's getting to the point where it's like, there's something to it. The number of times where he has said something, where he has referred to either Hamas or Iran, and what he has said sounds very much like it's actually being said about Bibi, or it could plausibly be understood to be a reference to Bibi. This is something where he's documented so many of these events where, a few of them you're kind of like, yeah, no, that's not. Or, maybe he misspoke or whatever, but he's done it so many times that it's very curious. There's some very high level psychological games being played with a lot of the messaging in and around the administration, around Trump himself, and around all the stuff that's going on in Iran. Let me see, what was the next thing I had queued up here? Was it? Okay, yeah, I'll come back to that in just a second, because I was ready to get into the Iran thing with the tabs here, and I was going to start with this guy. I can't remember the guy's name, but he goes to these lib protests and pretends to be a lib and makes fun of them. So he's pretending to be some sort of European here, and asks this No Kings protester about the Straits of Hormuz.
Isn't it a little bit homophobic that we're so focused on the Straits of Hormuz and not the gays of Hormuz?
Yes, I agree. Yes, for sure.
Why do you think they're willing to leave the gays of Hormuz behind?
I think it's just historically, gays have always been very discriminated against, which is wrong on so many levels.
Even in war.
Yeah, even in war. It just takes more reform in government, obviously, and then also educating society.
Just feel like if we're going to go in there.
Educating society. These are the people who want to educate society. That's what they always want. They always want, we need to educate society. We need to be the ones who educate society about the gays of Hormuz.
We can't leave the gay people behind. I don't think we should go in there at all, but if we're going to the gays of Hormuz, we could turn it into Fire Island.
For sure.
Isn't it a
Fire Island? Okay, so Trump said, I believe this was yesterday. Was it yesterday? The day before? I think it was yesterday morning. Let's see, what's today? Today is Tuesday, yesterday, Monday. I think this is Monday morning. He said the United States of America is in serious discussions with a new and more reasonable regime to end our military operations in Iran. Which, what does that mean? A new regime? Well, if there is a new regime, that means there used to be an old regime. Now the old regime is gone, and a new regime is there, and that new regime is more reasonable. So the discussions have been successful. Everything that we've been speculating is happening is actually happening. The attacks have been on the IRGC, and now suddenly a new, more reasonable regime has emerged, and they are having great discussions with them toward resolving the end of this war. Regime change has occurred. This is the message, at least. Great progress has been made, but if for any reason a deal is not shortly reached, which it probably will be, and if the Hormuz Strait is not immediately open for business, we will conclude our lovely stay in Iran by blowing up and completely obliterating all of their electric generating plants, oil wells, and Karg Island, and possibly all desalinization plants, which we have purposefully not yet touched. This will be in retribution for our many soldiers and others that Iran has butchered and killed over the old regime's 47-year reign of terror. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. So the 47-year reign of terror that Iran is responsible for, that is not the present Iran. That's the old Iran. There is now a new Iran. And as long as it stays that way, the United States will not commit war crimes. Does anybody really, like, you got to admit, if Trump threatens that he will bomb all the plants, all the oil wells, bomb Karg Island, and possibly even all the desalinization plants, just inflict mass terror and chaos and famine on Iran, does anybody believe fully that he wouldn't do that? Does anyone completely think that that would not happen? I don't know. Who wants to gamble? Because if he did that, it would not just be Iran that would suffer. It would be all the other Gulf countries, and it would be everything downstream of Iran. China, India, Pakistan, Australia, Europe. They would all be in bad, deep shit if he was to do this. But nobody can completely believe that he wouldn't do it. You have to consider it's a possibility. So suddenly you now have all the vested interested parties with respect to Iran from all other different regions in the world who are all have a deep vested interest in ensuring that this does not go on further. Who wants the end of the war now? Who are the ones who are desperate for the negotiations to continue? Who's actually controlling the operational tempo here? So American Debunk, this account that I just came across, never seen it before, but had some really good takes. First one says, every prediction American Debunk made about the US-Iran negotiations landed today. All of them on the same day. Here's what just happened and what it means. Trump threatened to obliterate Karg Island yesterday. Don't view this as a threat per se, it's an anchor. Once Karg is on the table, every outcome short of it looks like Iran winning. This is textbook negotiation psychology, and we called it weeks ago. Iran let 20 ships through Hormuz without firing a shot. The Tehran toll booth, $2 million a ship in Chinese yuan, so $2 million US worth in Chinese yuan, is now the operational structure. The strait isn't closed, it's a revenue model, and Iran to maintain their public, I think it's supposed to be Iran gets to maintain their public narrative. This is exactly what we said would happen. The smart money is on the former. This is what they'd said. Pakistan hosting formal talks is the clearest convergence signal we have seen in this series. Here is the sequence to watch. Watch what Iran does with the tanker convoy. 20 U.S. Navy escorted tankers transit the strait tomorrow morning. Iran's response or non-response tells you everything about their actual position. If they let them through, the Hormuz law is probably dead. They will eventually drop it in negotiations in exchange for something, and their domestic audience will be told they extracted major concessions. If they fire on the convoy, the negotiation is over and this analysis no longer applies. The smart money is on the former. They continue. Pakistan formally announced it will host U.S.-Iran peace talks. Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Egypt are backing it. The breakthrough came from Pakistan, not Washington or Tehran, because both sides needed someone else to own the first move. We told you to watch Pakistan in part 1. The White House confirmed today that Iran's public relations are just for show. Negotiations are going well. So in other words, the White House's position is that Iran is talking a whole bunch of shit in public, but they're actually on good terms and proceeding through negotiations in private. Every time Iran called U.S. demands unreasonable, they were managing their domestic audience, not actually walking away. Both things can be true, and they were. Iran confirmed the death of IRGC Navy Chief Tangsiri. the one who mined and closed Hormuz. And again, I'll mention, this is something Joaquin Flores keeps mentioning, I think it's worth remembering. Every time Iran confirms the death of someone, we have no way of validating whether that's actually true. So when the U.S. or Israel kills someone in Iran and then announces it, and then Iran confirms it, all we can conclude from that is that Israel or the United States believes he is dead or wants people to think he's dead, and Iran prefers to move forward, officially recognizing him as dead. That's the strongest conclusion we can draw. We can't actually conclude he is actually dead. The operational architect of the blockade is dead at the moment Iran is deciding whether to deal. And him as a character within this whole game that's happening, this is the case. He is dead in the game. Whether he's actually dead or not in real life is neither here nor there. Watch who replaces him. That will tell us a lot. Also, Trump's Truth Social post contained a phrase that deserves attention. He's negotiating with a new and more reasonable regime. That language either reflects a real internal shift in Tehran, or it's designed to create one by elevating the pragmatists publicly. April 6 is 7 days away. Pakistan is ready to host. The coalition is assembled. Iran is negotiating in private. The Karg threat is on the record. The deal is within reach, and Trump has now explicitly said what happens if it isn't reached. This is part 4 of the open air negotiation series. Parts 1 to 3 mapped this framework before any of it happened. If you want to understand what's coming next, start at the beginning. Everything happening now was laid out weeks ago. And here's the link. It's American Debunk on Substack. I haven't actually gone through and read all of it. That's on the to-do list now that I found these threads. Because I've got this one, and then I've got this one. Another post from Trump. He says, all of those countries that can't get jet fuel because of the Strait of Hormuz, like the United Kingdom, which refused to get involved in the decapitation of Iran, I have a suggestion for you. Number 1, buy from the U.S. We have plenty. And number 2, build up some delayed courage, go to the Strait, and just take it. You'll have to start learning how to fight for yourself. The USA won't be there to help you anymore, just like you weren't there for us. Iran has been essentially decimated. The hard part is done. Go get your own oil. Holy shit. The President of the United States is now on the record that the United States won't be there to help the United Kingdom anymore. So how many things does that extend to? What is an important military endeavor that the United Kingdom is currently engaged in? Also, what is this implying about the Strait? Well, let's read from American Debunk. This post by Trump is pre-framing what's to come. Read along and you'll start to see it too. When Trump tells the UK to go to the Strait and just take it, the surface read is that he's venting at allies who didn't show up. But the deeper move is priming the public and the world with a new mental frame. So he had his other mental frame, which is this is a new regime. This is not the old regime. The old regime is responsible for the 47 years worth of crimes that have been attributed to Iran. We are now negotiating and applying legitimacy to a new regime. That's one thing that he has now ceded. He's talking past the close. He's also priming them with a new mental frame. The Strait of Hormuz is not Iranian sovereign territory anymore. It's available real estate. It's takeable. Anyone with courage can have it. And who made it that way? Who's actually in operational control here? Or at least according to the narrative. Who is actually in operational control is America. We have established it. We have released this. It's a free agent. This territory, this most important choke point in the world, has been released. Anybody can claim it. We could claim it. We don't want to. Who else wants to claim it? You all want it. You all demand it. You want us to do the dirty work for you. We already did enough. We're done now. This is how we withdraw. We're removing ourselves from the region. We're eliminating the last major threat before we go. You guys, you figure it out amongst yourselves. And we'll be standing here waiting. What's that? You want us to keep doing it? Okay, what are you paying us to keep managing this for you? You're now going to pay us to preserve the American hold over the global empire. He's making them beg for the empire. That's a massive Overton window shift delivered in a tweet as an insult to the UK. A year ago, America controls the Strait of Hormuz sounded like some twisted fantasy. Today, Trump is telling Britain to go grab it themselves like it's a parking spot. In a few weeks, Trump has normalized the concept of Western control over the strait so thoroughly that full U.S. seizure now looks like the modest option compared to what he's suggesting allies do on their own. This is intentional. The persuasion mechanics here are priming plus pre-selling. Whatever the eventual deal includes, U.S. Navy permanent presence, joint patrols, Iranian withdrawal from mining infrastructure, the public will accept it because Trump already told them the strait is there for the taking. Your subconscious mind has already been primed to accept it. This psychological baseline is going to influence Trump-Iran negotiations, best believe it. The hard part is done works the same way. He's managing public fatigue. It translates to, we won, relax, this is cleanup. This keeps approval from eroding while the Pakistan talks drag through April. Trump isn't describing reality, he's installing it. Say the strait is takeable enough times, and it becomes takeable in the public mind. It's been 10 years of Trump, and he still leaves me in awe with his persuasion. Shout out to American Debunk. I'm going to go read from the Substack, and from what I've seen thus far, this is tremendous analysis, tremendous Trump understanding. And I saw in the replies that he mentioned being a longtime fan of Scott Adams and heavily influenced by Scott Adams. Now, a lot of people have been very concerned about the market, that the market is going to rebel. Trump is ultimately going to be brought to his knees because the market won't take this any longer. They will not tolerate so much disruption. And this is going to tank him in the midterms. Well, you guys tell me whether or not this guy is important or influential within the so-called market.
I think the market, like the markets are unpredictable, and it's hard for me to tell you exactly what, but I think they're just looking at, is there a chance something can go wrong? Now, we should all hope nothing goes wrong. We should all hope that these bad people are, that we win this thing and clean up the straits, and that Iran is no longer a threat to everybody. And but the markets will be concerned until it's over. But I think it's very important. It's much more important.
He's going out of his way to make this point. He wants to make sure that it's completely clear what he said, because the interviewer starts to talk and he's like, hold on, let me say this as well.
Concerned until it's over. But I think it's very important. It's much more important that this be successfully completed than what the market does.
And that sounds...
It's much more important that this be successfully completed than what the market does.
It's like what the UAE and Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states are saying.
Yeah.
Finish this off the right way.
Yeah.
They see the urgency here.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yes. I hear some people say, they want...
All the Gulf nations are all saying the exact same thing. These major stakeholders in this, who have committed trillions of dollars in investment to the United States, that's very key to Trump's revival of the economy and the restructuring of the financial rails of the economy, and the revivification of the American working class. They're all like, go harder, daddy.
See the urgency here.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yes. I hear some people say, they weren't an imminent threat. A threat means I'm threatening you. I might do something bad. These people have been doing something bad for 47 years. They've been killing people. They've been killing Americans. They funded that terrible Hamas thing. Several Americans were killed on October 7th. And so they've had proxy wars. They've been threatening people. I think people are surprised to find out that had a ballistic missile and go 3,000 miles. These are bad people, and they needed to be stopped. And just
JP Morgan, or sorry, JP Morgan. I mean, he is JP Morgan. Jamie Dimon is coming out right now. Very interesting, the timing here. Right here is as based on the thing I just read you, where there's going to be talks. The talks are going to drag on for a while because there's major negotiations happening. Trump has announced that the Strait of Hormuz is up for grabs. Anyone can take it. And Jamie Dimon is coming out now. Well, the market's kind of like, oh, what do I do? And he's like, settle down. We'll be good. Everything will be okay. This problem needs to be solved. And then it's off to the races. Think what you will about Jamie Dimon. There's no question that he is an absolute titan. This is a signal that Wall Street is behind whatever the president is doing. Now, Trump went out of his way to specifically mention the UK, which was interesting. He's like, all these countries who need energy, like, I don't know, the United Kingdom, because there's a number of other countries as well that are involved in that. He picked the United Kingdom specifically, stuck a finger in their eye specifically, but he's been rampaging about NATO for a while now, which is, it's very interesting that now he's on the warpath with NATO because this heavily implicates Ukraine. And former mouthpiece of the neocons, Otto von Bismarck, has this to say.
And I've been a big supporter of NATO. And one of the reasons why I've been a supporter of NATO is because I believe that these basing rights give us leverage and give us flexibility and operational capability all over the world. But if NATO is just about us defending Europe if they're attacked, but them denying us basing rights when we need them, that's not a very good arrangement. That's a hard one to stay engaged in and say this is good for the United States. So all of that's going to have to be re-examined. All of it's going to have to be re-examined.
We're going to be re-examining America's relationship with NATO. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. We're not going to be a part of NATO. NATO is not going to exist where it's our job to jump whenever Europe says jump, but they get to be picky and choosy. No, if you want us, if you want the United States to continue playing this role, you're going to pay for it. You are going to bend the knee economically. And you're going to get on side with respect to whatever is negotiated with China. You're not going to be undermining and subverting those negotiations. We're going to be establishing a peace, a détente, a formal competition between us and China. We're going to be competitors, not enemies. And we're not going to have you as this wild card out here that's just going to insert yourself and undermine everyone all across the board to suit whatever you feel is your interests. No, you're going to bend the knee, or you're on your own. This is why there's so much of this sort of posting going on right now. Because the people who are losing the most out of all of this are the Europeans. Eugipius, who's sometimes a decent poster, he says, my problem with MAGA and plan trusters on the Iran thing isn't even over the war so much. I'm not a moral fag, okay? I've even written that there's a certain logic to the war happening now. It's that you guys, in a mad drive to make Trump into some kind of geopolitical genius deity, have just churned out a reprehensible tidal wave of total shit arguments and piss-poor analysis. Because apparently you find that preferable to admitting that Trump is wont to say nonsensical things while rambling to the press, and nobody in his administration has developed any reasonably coherent, consistent talking points about this war. It's been 10 fucking years, and people still cannot understand him. That primarily is my quarrel. It's an intellectual one. What happened here has now become pretty clear. US and Israelis thought they could do a regime change with decapitation strikes because Mossad had developed over-optimistic plans and projections. They thought this would happen really fast, preempting straight threats and Gulf ally retaliation. The gamble was wrong, the whole thing went south, and now they need to save it somehow, or not. You could just be honest that this is what happened. War is complicated and risky. The best laid plans go sour. It is what it is. You deal with it, try to minimize the costs and get out. Or you can choose to live in a land of fairy tale and perpetual delusion. The irony! The absolute irony of him ending that with, you can choose to live in a land of fairy tale and perpetual delusion. This is purely just fan fiction. This has no bearing whatsoever on anything that the administration has said. Mom's Berryman, the Patriot poster right here, says, all of this, March 30th, Marco Rubio, here are the clear objectives of the operation. You should write them down. Mom's Berryman says, All of this is what Trump said in his statement on the first day, and it has consistently been the administration's position. Regime change was never an objective. It was a contingency endgame, along with a negotiated solution that leaves a remnant of the current regime in place. This has been, from the very beginning, people are losing their fucking minds. From the very beginning, they have been saying the exact same thing.
This operation, okay, and that's what this is about very specific objectives. The president laid them out on the first night of the operation. I'll repeat them to you now because I hear a lot of talk about we don't know what the clear objectives are. Here they are. You should write them down. Number 1, the destruction of their Air Force. Number 2, the destruction of their Navy. Number 3, the severe diminishing of their missile launching capability. And number 4, the destruction of their factories so they can't make more missiles and more drones to threaten us in the future. All of this so that they can never hide behind it to acquire a nuclear weapon. That was our objective from the beginning. That remains our objective now. We are on pace and, in fact, ahead of schedule on some of those things, and we are going to achieve those things in a number of weeks, not in a number of months.
Exactly the same thing that Trump said the night that the operation was launched. And all of this, like, anti-war hand-wringing on the ostensible online right has been entirely like, let's take the things that are happening, let's port ourselves out into imaginary land, and just go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, come to consensus on something, and return to post as if it's just obviously true. There's no bearing on reality whatsoever. Trump is wont to say nonsensical things while rambling to the press, and nobody in his administration has developed any reasonably coherent, consistent talking points about this war. I think that Eugipius would do well to become a Labian. We invite you, Eugipius, because those in the chat can vouch for me here. Had you been a Labian all along, you would not be experiencing this anxiety. You would not be living in this strange world of bizarre shapes. You would not be stuck in the digital shape store, marveling at these incomprehensible things floating past you. You would have known from literally the first day, from even before it, you would have known exactly what's going on. You would be completely up to date. I think he's in Europe. So I guess this might be kind of hard for him to catch. It probably starts early, probably before he wakes up in the morning, because I think he's probably like 7 hours ahead of me. So yeah, the Labe. I'm sorry, that's my fault. It's my fault for starting the Labe at like 3 o'clock in the morning your time. I'll take that. I'll take that on my shoulders. I'll get better. So that you don't have to be so concerned and demoralized and confused about everything that's happening. Because it's all been very, very obvious. It's been very clear. They've told you exactly what they're going to do. They've done it. And then we've talked about how they did it. I've never once this entire time felt like, oh, this is starting to get out of control. Everything has been proceeding exactly. They set the expectations and everything has proceeded accordingly. Obviously, I'm bringing to bear a rather unique perspective on geopolitics probably from the beginning. Even before that, that's informing the way that I see this and the way that I understand this as a longtime loyal Luangooner. But even if I hadn't, all I could have done is just listen to my president. Just listen to what he says. Recognize how he negotiates. I said yesterday, he is so simple. Just the same playbook over and over and over and over again. Its brilliance is in its simplicity. He's got me doing the Luongo fingers now. He just does the same thing over and over again and just keeps winning. You too can learn how to win. Just study our president. Okay, now let's read from Foreign Policy. The rest of the world is going to be dealing with a powerful, probably predatory, and highly erratic United States for at least 3 more years and probably longer. writes columnist Stephen Walt. Look at this nigga. That's who I turn to when I'm looking for some geopolitical analysis. Give it to me, Stephen. I mean, I gotta say, the way you're starting off has got me feeling like this. Shout out to Abe the Shinzo. Got a little something on Shinzo here in a minute. But yeah, this is exactly it. A powerful, probably predatory, and highly erratic United States. Hell yeah, baby. The United States has become a rogue state. Here's what the rest of the world can do about it. By Stephen M. Walt, a columnist at Foreign Policy and the Robert and Renee Belfer Professor of International Relations at Harvard University. You know he's serious because they took the picture and they made, they digitally created what looks like a pencil-drawn portrait. My president is a predator. That's what the rape dungeon is for. The second Trump administration has been far more disruptive, damaging, and dangerous. Oh man, this guy likes his alliteration. Than most observers, including me, expected. And the tragically inept war with Iran is driving that point home in spades. If you just keep saying it's tragically inept, then it actually will become tragically inept. Please tip your streamer, folks. We're still stuck at the 88 that Gabe started us off with. Tips.kingpill.com. As a result, every country in the world is having to figure out how to deal with an increasingly rogue United States. Ask yourself, if you led Saudi Arabia, Brazil, Germany, Indonesia, Nigeria, Denmark, Australia, etc., what would you do? Oh, thankfully Harvard is here looking out for Saudi Arabia, Brazil, Germany, Indonesia, Nigeria, Denmark, and Australia. Thank you, Harvard Professor of International Relations. You must be an expert on relations. That's sure what I take away when I look at you. I'd make myself American. So true, Tyler. Here's why this is a hard problem. The United States is still very powerful, even if it is now pursuing policies, misguided mercantilism, mindless attacks on science and academia, overt hostility to immigrants of all sorts, doubling down on fossil fuel dependence, wasteful military spending, chronic deficits, etc.
Back, baby! The white man
Flicker
is
rate.
back!
Mouth sounds and mind pictures. To worry is to worship the devil.
So true, Flicker rate. Thank you, Patriot.
A shekel for a good guy.
That one's really loud. I need to bring down the volume on that one. Thank you for the shekels. Yeah, that was the perfect timing. The white man is back.
White males way up. White males have gone through the roof. White males way up.
For a moment, however, other states still have to worry that U.S. power could be used to harm them, either intentionally or inadvertently. Imagine being an American who's concerned that U.S. power might be used to harm others. Second, as I have argued at length elsewhere, the United States is now acting like a predatory hegemon, exploiting positions of leverage built up over decades to exploit allies and adversaries alike. Hold on a second. This is what I've been hearing my entire life. Ever since I was a wee boy, when I first became aware of the fact that countries other than the United States existed for some reason, I was told that the United States is a predatory hegemon, exploiting positions of leverage built up over decades to exploit allies and adversaries alike. I've heard this my entire life. This zero-sum approach to nearly all relations with others includes a deep hostility toward most international institutions and norms, deliberately erratic behavior, and a tendency to treat other foreign leaders with ill-disguised contempt, while expecting demeaning acts of submission and fealty from most of them. You remember how they always accuse you of what they're doing? A tendency to treat other foreign leaders with ill-disguised contempt while expecting demeaning acts of submission and fealty from most of them. As the fallout from the war in Iran spreads throughout the region and around the world, it underscores that the administration either didn't understand how its actions would affect other states or simply didn't care. Which brings me to the third problem. U.S. foreign policy is now in the hands of a remarkably incompetent set of officials, from the president on down. International influence depends on many things, but one of the key ingredients is other states' belief that the people they have to deal with are smart, well-informed, and generally know what they are doing. At this point, does anyone in the higher echelons of the Trump administration merit that description? Not that I can see. Conducting foreign policy is a difficult business, and no government gets everything right. But this administration commits own goals on a weekly basis while insisting that it's infallible. Who does this sound like? Who could have, whom amongst us, whomst amongst us would write that no one in the higher echelons of the Trump administration merits a description of smart, well-informed, or generally knowing what they're doing? Says that the administration commits own goals on a weekly basis while insisting that it is infallible. Is there really that much of a difference? Okay. To make matters worse, some of these features are not going to be easy to correct after Trump leaves office, even if he is replaced by someone with very different views. The institutional capacity of the U.S. foreign policy machinery is being hollowed out as experienced civil servants retire or are dismissed, including some senior military officers, and are either not replaced or superseded by Trumpian loyalists. Remember the article that I read you guys yesterday? About the wall? The Washington Post posting Trump's wins? Now we've got foreign policy posting Trump's wins. And because the U.S. body politic remains deeply polarized, other states must also worry that the pendulum will simply swing back and forth between extremes. Wow! Other states might just prefer that the pendulum not swing back again? That's what you're telling me? Americans elected Trump not once but twice and could elect someone similar again. Those stupid Americans don't know what they're doing, electing Trump and inflicting this on the rest of us. Given that reality, how can any country trust any commitment that Washington might make today or under a Democratic president? What an interesting time to post an article about how incompetent the Trump administration is, how the military is completely compromised, and how any deal that is signed by anyone should be seen as temporary. This is straight up sedition. The bottom line is that the rest of the world is going to be dealing with a powerful, probably predatory, and highly erratic United States for at least 3 more years, and probably longer. From your lips to God's ears, brother! If that is the case, then what should other countries do, bearing in mind that the United States is not the only dangerous predator out there, and for some states, more immediate dangers lie closer to home? He asked a question. If that is the case, then what should other countries do? And he ends it in a period. To repeat my question, if you ran another country's foreign policy, what would you do? Here are the main options that I see. Now, okay, this is where I think that it's very useful to see the way that these people see the world. Number 1, balancing. Throughout history, the classic way to deal with powerful and dangerous states is to balance against them, either through one's own efforts or in partnership with others, or both. One sees this tendency in Russia and China's No Limits partnership, the support that North Korea provided Russia and Ukraine, the network of proxies that Iran backed around the Middle East, and in the intelligence support that Russia is reportedly giving Iran. A variation that some states are likely to adopt is soft balancing, the conscious coordination of diplomatic action to thwart a powerful state's aims. A classic illustration was the coordinated French, German, and Russian decision to oppose the 2002 UN Security Council resolution that would have authorized the U.S. attack on Iraq. Although it failed to convince the Bush administration not to go to war, it exposed U.S. and British isolation and increased the political costs that each ultimately paid. Just got to say that it's very interesting that he starts off talking about a relationship between Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran. He's speaking of this analogically to the United States. So essentially, from his worldview, he's defining Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, and the United States as all kind of in the same category. The European response to Trump's threat is to take Greenland from Denmark as another obvious example. A coordinated diplomatic response intended to keep a powerful state from undertaking an unwanted action, although it had a military element as well. Soft balancing appears to be what Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney had in mind in January when he called for the world's middle powers to come together and create mutually beneficial relations that don't depend on cooperation from an unreliable and predatory United States. And you're starting to see a little picture, I think, of the type of world they're beginning to resign themselves to. They being the city of London, the globalists, the the establishment, elite, the regime, whatever you want to call it. The way that they are viewing the world is increasingly that there's going to be United States, China, Russia, their satellites, and then Europe leading a coalition of the middle states. The Trump administration is betting that both hard and soft efforts to balance U.S. power will be weak, erratic, and not very consequential. They could be right because many countries remain understandably reluctant to take costly actions to counter U.S. power, and even efforts at soft balancing face big collective action problems. In other words, trying to organize and coordinate all of those middle countries is difficult because now you've got to try to coordinate an increasing number of potentially divergent interests that are like the more parties that you have to try to organize and coordinate, the more difficult it's going to be to move collectively against a more powerful opponent, given that that powerful opponent can more easily pick off individual members of your constituency. Those obstacles are not insurmountable, however, especially if accommodating the United States just leads to fresh demands or other countries come to see close partnerships with the United States as more of a liability than an asset. And let's not forget another form of balancing. Some states that either worry that the United States might attack them or fear that it is no longer a reliable protector will be tempted to enhance their security by acquiring nuclear deterrents of their own. Concerns about U.S. reliability have led France to propose extending its own deterrent more broadly in Europe, and countries such as South Korea and Japan are once again contemplating the need for a deterrent of their own. The war with Iran and the elimination of several relatively cautious Iranian leaders will only strengthen the hands of those who believe that their biggest error was not to imitate North Korea and make an active sprint for the bomb while they had the chance. So he's like cautiously insinuating here, if you read between the lines, cautiously insinuating that these middle nations, in building this coalition of middle nations, one of the things you might consider is, hey, we should all also get nukes. Number 2 is bandwagoning. Although most realist scholars maintain that bandwagoning with a powerful predatory state is risky and therefore rare, some states will see this as their best option. Especially weak and vulnerable states may conclude that they have no choice but to align with the United States. How's that for pre-framing? If you try to align with the United States and hope for the best, you are acknowledging that you are a weak and vulnerable state. And countries that want to use U.S. support to advance their own revisionist aims will be happy to jump on the bandwagon. Israel, Saudi Arabia, and the smaller Persian Gulf states are obvious examples of this sort of opportunistic behavior. This category also includes right-wing leaders such as Hungary's Viktor Orban, yes, Hungary, very weak state, Argentina's Javier Milei, France's Marine Le Pen, or Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu, who see Trump as a prestigious and charismatic figure who shares their own distaste for liberal democracy and many global norms. It should surprise no one that each of these leaders, including Trump, have openly backed Orban's struggling re-election effort in Hungary. You know, you should just start seeing liberal, a distaste for liberal democracy and many global norms is, if you want to read through what that actually means, this is, does not want to remain subservient to the British imperial project. Whoa, there was a link in there. Bandwagoning with an erratic and predatory United States is not without its own risks, however. For one thing, debacles such as the Iran war, the sluggish U.S. economy, and Trump's underwater approval ratings are tarnishing the MAGA brand and could make a close association with the United States less beneficial to foreign populists. Furthermore, most of these leaders' popular support rests on portraying themselves as ardent nationalists, which is not consistent with long-term deference to a predatory foreign power. See, they can't even conceive of it. They can't even conceive of being nationalist and also realistic about your relationship to a larger power. Imagine a network of nationalist powers. Fascinating. Such concerns may explain why Le Pen, de facto leader of France's far-right national rally, has distanced herself slightly from Trump in recent months. It may also be because there's such a relentless concerted effort to completely and utterly destroy her and anyone near her, but yeah, maybe we don't mention that. Arthurian candidate says Europe weakens itself for 50 years and then gets mad the U.S. is strong. So true. Number 3, political manipulation. States that choose to remain closely aligned with the United States and want to use U.S. power to advance their own aims, another frickin' typo, will redouble their efforts to steer U.S. foreign policy in the directions that they favor. Netanyahu and some key organizations in the Israel lobby helped convince Trump to start the latest war. And Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is reportedly pushing Trump to bring in ground troops. It's a safe bet that Israel and the Gulf states will continue to lobby the White House and Congress to keep arms flowing. And one can also expect more blatant forms of influence peddling. New business deals for Jared Kushner or the Trump administration, or Trump organization, to continue so long as Trump is in office. But the war in Iran is a risk for these states too. The more that it is seen as a war being fought on behalf of others, the greater the risk of a backlash if the war turns out badly. The more that it is seen as a war being fought on behalf of others. So the Gulf states, the vulnerability that the Gulf states have is that a war being fought against Iran is actually a war being fought on behalf of others. And then there may be like a backlash against those states. The states that are like directly, like literal neighbors to Iran. Number 4, diversifying and de-risking. When you are dealing with an unreliable partner, the smart thing to do is to reduce your dependence on them, even if doing so is somewhat costly. You got to take it on the chin. Come on, everybody. We're all going to coordinate against the big bad America. You guys are just going to have to eat shit, okay? This tendency has been apparent ever since Trump's announcement of reciprocal tariffs in April 2025, after which U.S. trading partners worked overtime to reduce their dependence on the U.S. market by forging free trade deals with each other. Canada has reduced tensions with China and negotiated new trade pacts with Indonesia and India, and the European Union has done the same with India and Mercosur. Number 5, balking or just say no. As any parent knows, sometimes very weak actors can get their way by stubbornly refusing to go along with the demand, in the hope that the stronger party will lack either the will or the patience to enforce compliance. I like how every single other nation he just describes as very weak actors. Maybe he's a little American. The United States NATO allies balked when Trump demanded that they help open the Strait of Hormuz, for example, because they were not consulted before the war, have little reason to rescue Trump for his own mistakes, and probably hope that the debacle will teach Washington a much-needed lesson. You know, I genuinely think he probably believes this. He probably believes, he's like, what, Iran? That's not Europe. All the other NATO allies, they don't have any concern about the Strait of Hormuz. Hopefully Trump getting fucked over in Iran will teach him a lesson, and we'll just continue minding our own business up here. Alternatively, states can pretend to comply with the demand, but then drag their feet, announce unexpected complications, make it harder to verify compliance, and generally kick as much dust in the air as possible. The appeal of this strategy is obvious. It avoids an open confrontation with Washington, but also avoids the full costs of complying. As if a nation could just be a gigantic pain in the ass and, quote, generally kick as much dust in the air as possible. But they'd be doing the, not touching me, can't get mad, not touching me, can't get mad, which in his mind is a valid geopolitical strategy at the nation state level. Just play the not touching me, can't get mad game and nobody can do anything to you because it's against the rules. See, I have the rule book here and it says you can't punish someone for playing the not touching me, can't get mad game. Other states have used this tactic against the United States in the past. NATO countries repeatedly pledged to increase their defense spending, yet managed to fall short each time. He's literally pointing out that these poor besieged NATO countries have repeatedly played the game of, quote, generally kicking as much dust in the air as possible. Israel promised to dismantle some settlements, but did so as slowly as possible and built new ones to replace them in the meantime. The Trump administration is reportedly trying to determine whether China fulfilled the economic promises that it made during Trump's first term. I'll bet it didn't. It's a big, busy, and complicated world, and even a very powerful country such as the United States cannot keep track of everything that other states might have agreed to do in the past and determine whether they're living up to their pledges. Number 6, make the United States look bad. Remember, this dude's a professor of international relationship, or a professor of international relationships at Harvard. And he's advising other nations, hey, by the way, a very valid course of action is just make the United States look bad. Hard power is still the primary currency of world politics, but powerful states also benefit when they are seen as mostly virtuous, reasonably honest and reliable, and trying to make the world better at least some of the time. They benefit when they're seen that way. We're not going to consider what it would be if they actually were that way. This quality is what my late colleague Joseph Nye termed soft power. States gained influence when others saw them as appealing and for the most part benevolent. Thank you, Joseph Nye, late colleague of this retard, for coining the term soft power. It follows that the United States opponents will go to great lengths to tarnish its image by portraying it as selfish, aggressive, dangerous, and a model to be rejected rather than admired and emulated. So the United States wants the world to see their model as something to be admired and emulated, and their opponents see it as their responsibility then to say, no, don't admire and emulate that model. That model is selfish, aggressive, dangerous, and a model to be rejected. A corollary to this strategy, which China has followed for some time, is to stay out of the way and let the United States keep stumbling. The United States is just stumbling their way into bullying the entire world. As Napoleon Bonaparte allegedly said, never interrupt an enemy when it is making a mistake. And boy, is the Trump administration making this easier. Bragging about blowing up boats in the Caribbean merely on grounds of suspicion. Helping to assassinate... I need a victorious music backing track to this. Helping to assassinate foreign leaders. Mistreating immigrants and tourists. Imposing travel bans on more than a dozen countries. Ordering financial sanctions on foreign officials for the unpardonable sin of criticizing the president. Boasting that power is all that matters. Imposing tariff rates that bounce up and down like a gerbil on meth. Launching a war with consequences for the entire world economy with no clear idea of where it would lead. The list goes on and on.
I am your voice.
No more games. I want Trump to issue death warrants now against all these people. I want them killed. I want them dead now. I'm a human nigger going hard stuff.
There you go.
As the United States image shifts from that of a well-intentioned, if sometimes mistaken global power, to one that is uncaring, cruel, reflexively dishonest, and out only for itself, even leaders who want to do business with Washington will be wary of getting too close. The various strategies for opposing the United States are mutually reinforcing. The more states begin to balance, either in hard or soft form, the easier it becomes for others to distance themselves as well. The more that the United States' role in the world is seen not as broadly benevolent, but as actively harmful, the harder it will be for many states to stay on the United States side, and the more foreign leaders will benefit from standing up to Washington. The more that states balk, the easier it is for others to follow suit, because even a superpower cannot keep track of every country's minor acts of defiance and punish all of them all at once. Here's the main lesson that Americans should... Oh, Americans! Gee, you've been talking to non-Americans this entire time. Now we're going to talk to Americans. Okay. Here's the main lesson that Americans should take from this array of possible responses to Washington's present behavior. The great advantage of being a powerful country is that one has a substantial margin for error and many resources upon which to draw when dealing with problems. The disadvantage is that while some states look for ways to exploit U.S. power for their own benefit, others will find it worrisome and will look for ways to tame or constrain it. For this reason, a far-sighted great power will use its power with restraint, adhere to widely held norms whenever possible, recognize that even close allies will have their own agendas, and work to fashion arrangements with others from which all parties benefit. Maintaining the mailed fist of hard power is valuable, but so is cloaking it in a velvet glove. The United States did this tolerably well for most of the past 75 years and benefited greatly, and its present leaders are rapidly tossing that wisdom overboard. As I warned more than 2 decades ago, oh man, I can't wait to know what Stephen Walt was thinking 2 decades ago. If the United States ends up hastening the demise of its existing partnerships and giving rise to new arrangements whose purpose is to contain us, we will have only ourselves to blame.
What a fag.
Anyway, here's what's happening with the UK Home Office. This is from the UK Home Office Twitter account directly. I had to double check and see. Police time will no longer be wasted investigating legal social media posts, freeing up officers to patrol the streets and tackle real crime. By scrapping non-crime hate incidents, we are balancing the protection of vulnerable communities while respecting free speech. Over recent years, guidance has failed to keep pace with the digital age and has led to officers being called out to people's homes over insults and routine arguments. New measures announced today will introduce a new system that will prevent police from recording lawful free speech. Forces will continue to ensure that reports from the public, which may lead to genuine harm, get the right response. Now, this is like total bullshit weasel word legalese. However, what has the Trump administration's official position with respect to the European nations been, as declared in the national security strategy? One of their primary concerns is the fact that you get in trouble for doing as Slutty Milk just did and saying nigger on the internet. My president believes that you should be allowed to say nigger on the internet, and that this is a great European tradition. Sometimes you can even say it like this. And don't worry.
Yes, hello, it's me, a black guy.
I am a black guy. I'm allowed to. I got a pass. The cyberbully told me I did. But, it's very interesting here. Very, very interesting that the Trump administration is putting the screws to the UK economically. Trump's like, hey, you limey cunts. Go do your own work. You fucking virgins. Go pop your cherry. Remember when you had a military? Why don't you use it? What's that? Energy crisis? Oh, you're capitulating. You say you're actually not going to be arresting people for saying nigger on the internet, and I'm sure they're still going to arrest people for saying nigger on the internet. Unless they're black. If they're black, they're allowed to say nigger on the internet. But white people aren't allowed to say nigger on the internet in the UK. So, it's so strange that everything this administration does, there's coherence, almost as if there's some kind of a coordinated, an orchestrated series of events that are intended to achieve a particular goal. Mr. Sue says, Trump is grabbing NATO by the pussy. So true. Remember, Trust Plant Star says, remember when Lloyds of London mattered until last week? Sucks to suck. No kidding. The P word. That's right. A plan. They do like it. Okay. I said that there'd be a little Abe content. Shinzo Abe, that is. This Japanese guy says, no matter how many times I look, it's weird that there's a photo of Shinzo Abe displayed like it's of my dead husband. Trump is a widow's gay. Look at my gay president. Gay for Abe. His friend. And this Japanese person said, I've always wondered why Trump likes Abe-chan so much. But apparently it's because when he was elected as this freak show kind of president, totally clueless about everything, and with no connections to other countries' leaders, Abe was the first one to quickly reach out and make contact with him. And then, this story. This takes a few liberties with the narrative, but it's broadly true. They had a private dinner for just the two of them in a secluded room. It was not just a private dinner for just the two of them. That part is not true. There was more people there, but it was a pretty private dinner. And suddenly the lights dimmed. That is true. Then Trump himself brought out a surprise birthday cake and started singing Happy Birthday. It was a pure love episode straight out of a rom-com, showing just how close their relationship really was. I think that Abe, that Shinzo was like, I think he was like the only real friend that Trump had among world leaders. You probably can't overstate how much that motivated Abe being assassinated. How much that motivated Trump's desire to fuck these people.
We're going to kill you. We're going to give you the death penalty or kill you.
Speaking of the death penalty, in El Salvador, they're building a new cathedral in honor of Our Lady of Fatima, This guy in Spanish, translated automatically, thank you, Grockler, says, surprisingly, if you don't give a damn about human rights and you suspend democracy, you go from being a shithole to building cathedrals in less than 2 terms.
How deep is your love? Is your love? How deep is your love? I really mean to learn. 'Cause we're living in a world of fools, breaking us down when they all should let us be. We belong to you and me. I believe in you. You know the door to my very soul. You're the light in my deepest, darkest doubt. You're my savior.
This song is for Trump and Shinzo.
And you may not think I care for you when you know
we're bringing back cathedrals, boys.
It's me you need to show.
Just got to kill some people. That's all it takes. If you want to build cathedrals, you have to kill some people. Sit with that one for a little bit. Here's some more El Salvador related news. It's so easy. Look at this.
If you are an Indian citizen, do not travel to El Salvador. I just tried to check into my flight with Avianca to El Salvador, and apparently El Salvador charges a fee of $1,300 just for Indian citizens just to transit through the country. I think it's because of all the illegal immigration that's been going on through El Salvador from India, but still $1,300 for regular travelers is just insane.
Good morning, bastards!
Build a Caesar, baby. We're going to be getting headlines like this in the United States in a very, very short order, I would imagine. A cleaning fee. Very good, Logan. A cleaning fee. Oh, check this out. Speaking of immigration, the New York Times recently published a column about a dairy farmer who deployed robots after immigration authorities arrested one of his workers. The farm now produces 3 times more milk per worker, while employees earn more, work shorter hours, and do less grueling work. Mr. Heminger was an early adopter, installing his first milking machines in 2007. After the authorities arrested one of his workers, he foresaw AOC way ahead of time. I just decided I wasn't going to risk having both my vegetables and the dairy both be dependent on a labor force whose paperwork could be challenged, he said. That was the main driver. Before he began using the robots, Mr. Heminger's farm produced about 800,000 pounds of milk per worker per year. Today, the farm produces 2.5 million pounds of milk per worker per year. He employs half as many people as he would otherwise need, a dozen workers to manage his herd of more than 200,000 dairy cows. Mr. Heminger's remaining employees earn more than typical farm workers, their work is less taxing, and their hours are more reasonable. No one needs to be in the barn at 5 on a bitterly cold morning in the middle of February. My Hemniger. AOC hiding right now. Oh, and the very last thing here from Unseen One. Just an anecdote, so take it for what it is, but the local Kubota dealership told my son that they did about $500K in business during the month last year. This year, they did $2 million for the month. Also, the place I'm getting the soil from said business is off the charts and they had to hire another delivery person to meet demand. My daughter-in-law said the company her dad works for, which makes outdoor furniture cushions, is now running 24/7 and they can't meet demand. But, the doomers want you to believe it's a recession. Tom Pappert here says, I just helped a trucker friend move to a much nicer house. He got a massive tax refund on top of getting better paying loads because so many immigrants have been taken off the road. My president is giving our truckers much better paying loads. Nice, rich, juicy loads. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Well, that is it. That is it. I do have another article here that I'm going to save for tomorrow. what the Federal Register revealed today and what it means for America's financial future. We will, it was signal boosted by Tom Luongo. We will read that when he says, read carefully, the process to functionally restructure U.S. finances is underway. We will read that one. Oh yeah, no show tomorrow. Thursday. On Thursday, we will read this one. We'll also do, I know I mentioned the Disney morality video. We will watch that one. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Sue. April Fools. Yeah, no show on April Fools. I inadvertently did an April Fool's joke. Yeah, no show tomorrow. Tomorrow is my day for getting some things done. But there will be a voice chat. So if you would like to join us for the voice chat, in the evening, it'll probably be around 8 p.m. Central. 7 or 8 p.m. kind of depends on what time Eastwood gets to bed. Then we'll be in there. Voice chat. Kingpilled Discord. Kingpilled.com. Go sign up for that. And please do remember you can tip your streamer even when I'm not live. If you're listening for part of the replay gang later on, you too can go to tips.kingpilled.com and then you will get your payoff. At the next lab, I'll make sure that I get it added to the tip goal to start the next lab. And just make sure as long as you're still going through Ko-fi, just a reminder, I haven't said this in a little while, you have to make sure that there are nothing except for letters or numbers in the name. That includes spaces, no spaces. For whatever reason, non-alphanumeric characters get kicked out of the automation right now. And then try to keep the message relatively short because sometimes it says there's a 250 character limit and sometimes it doesn't. And I don't know what
to the Gulag.
Makes it happen.
If you survive, you earn your freedom.
Thank you, Flicker Rate. Appreciate you gifting a sub to Custod Estro. Let me just make sure that nothing else came through. Yep. All right. So that is it for the night. Follow Substack. Follow me on X. Follow the Telegram channel. Share the show with people. I love every single one of you guys. And I will see you in April. For now, I leave you with Hulk.
When they took a shot at my hero, and they tried to kill the next president of the United States, enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make